What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray. We're talking about generational wealth, mental health, finance, and business.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
And before we introduce today's guest, my brother Eric out of Nashville, aka Nash Vegas. Who do you have for our Black Men Sunday spotlight, my brother?
It's interesting you say that. Today is, well, not today, but this month's Black History. So, we're going to recognize figures that was influential, maybe I should say, during the struggle. But the person we're going to recognize is a guy named Victor Green. And he was a postal worker from Harlem. But what's interesting about Victor, I'm going to get into that in a little bit. Back in the day during segregation for Black Americans, back in the day, it was traveling by car in the era of segregation, of course, was hard. You go on an open road, it presented a lot of dangers. Distant, just driving on interstate to unfamiliar locations. Black motorists ran into institutionalized racism in a number of forms, from hotels and restaurants that refused to serve them or accommodate them, to hostile sundown towns, meaning you had to be there before the sun went down. And there were posted signs that may warn Black people that they were banned after nightfall. So this brother named Victor Green, who was a postal worker from Harlem, he created a travel safety book called the Green Book. Now, the Green Book was a guide informed travelers of the safest place to eat, sleep, and more. The Green Book was an African American who was tired of the discrimination that Blacks faced when they ventured outside the neighborhood. So at the time, these places were the quote white only policies in sundown towns that banned Black people after dark. Now, again, it was created back in 1936. The Green Book originated as a guide to safe businesses in New York City that accepted African Americans. In the years that followed, it evolved into a country-spanning travel and vacation guide that ultimately included over 900 locations, only 1/3 of which are still standing, according to this article. That's my spotlight for today, the Green Book, that helped us make sure we travel and then get into safe destinations. Back to you.
Wow, man, that's interesting, man. Because we always talk about the Underground Railroad. We don't talk about the Green Book. So wow, that's some great information, man. How's the weather?
It's always sunny, man. Like I said, when it's Black History Month, it's always a sunny day. I'm Black History. You're Black History. We all are Black History. No matter what the current administration and is trying to do, we're gonna celebrate it.
Yeah, well, we do that every day, so that's how we
Absolutely.
get down. Yeah, that's why I said when I was making this podcast, well, I do it just in February. We do it every year,
Every day.
every day, every
Every
Sunday,
day.
every Black Men's Sunday, man. So hey, I appreciate that spotlight, my brother Beezy.
No problem. You too.
Definitely, definitely. Oh yeah. So listen, we about to have that financial conversation today. I didn't come to play with y'all. I ain't gonna waste y'all time. Y'all know Nelson Simmons. His brother's been on the show. He's a budgeting coach, financial advisor, over 2 decades of corporate and finance and accounting experience. This brother also came on our show the start of last year, and we talked about how to become an everyday millionaire. So if you want to learn about that, get the show from last year, because I guarantee you a lot of y'all missed out on that. And we're going to go over some wealth building strategies. So without further ado, I don't want to, because this brother, I can go all day with his accolades. But without further ado, Nelson Simmons III, the official Black Men Sundays financial advisor. Welcome back to Black Men Sundays, brother. How you doing, man?
Corey, I'm doing quite well today. Thank you for having me back on the show to do what it is that I do, and that's talk about finances and help people win with their money. So thank you so much for allowing me back on the show.
Oh, definitely, man. I just want to get right into it right now.
Yeah.
We got a new president in. It's a new year. We talking about tariffs. A lot of people are concerned, like, oh, them tariffs. I get supplies from Canada, from China. I get supplies from Mexico. Is that gonna make that go up? We're already living in inflation. So is this gonna make things worse? I mean, brothers is coming to me like literally, I got an email from a producer from my job. She was like, "Do you have a tariff expert? We need one like now." So let's have this conversation, baby. Let's go.
Trump's honeymoon is over, right? And so what I mean by that is, the markets went crazy when he got elected, right? And if you had some money in your 401k, 403b plans, you had money in your IRAs, even in the crypto space, you came out looking like a bed of roses, and the return was quite handsome for you. But the reality has set in on some of his policies, the weight and the gravity. And even he kind of alluded to, hey, we're going to have some turmoil in the markets, volatility, as well as some issues going on with the economy, right? And so we got a little reprieve last week, heading into last week, because of the moratoriums that he did on the tariffs, right? And so that's only like 30 days. So what I'm here to tell you is, yes, there's going to be more market volatility. There's going to be more economic trouble with those tariffs if he doesn't let them expire, right? So we don't want to go into a trade war, but that looks like that's where we're going, which leads to, again, market volatility, which leads to increases in prices, when prices increase, which could lead to inflation. And then with inflation, you see what I'm saying? They have to do what is called quantitative tightening, which means there could be further interest rate hikes, which could lead into a recession, which in turn leads the Federal Reserve or Jerome Powell having to do some quantitative easing to spur the economy again. So Trump is like has asked Powell to, kind of, hey, let's put an easing on the interest rates. Let's lower them. But that's like a tool that you use. Like it's like a dancing act or a juggling act for the Federal Reserve as to when you pull it. That's one of their main tools to use it. So you don't want to pull that off, to press that lever too soon, which could create additional problems for our economy and the market as a whole. And then you've got the whole AI war, where you've got the American ChatGPT, and then China just announced their clapback or their version of ChatGPT, which created market rifts in the market. So what does all that mean? It's just noise, and how you handle the noise depends on what phase you are in your investment career, right? And so that's why it's so important to know those phases, right? And there's 3 phases that one goes through in their career, right? And the first one that we mainly talk about on this show is the wealth building, the asset accumulation phase, right? And that's very, very important, because you can't get to the other phases if there is nothing that has been accumulated, right? And so in the wealth accumulation phase, we're talking about people in the age bracket of 18 to 55. And in this phase, we're establishing our accounts. We're trying savings accounts, emergency funds, contributing to our 401k, 403b, 457 plans. And we've kind of already talked about that. And then, just to kind of recap on what you need to be doing, like I've said on previous shows, you need to be contributing to your 401k plan up to the match, going into and fully funding your IRA, going back and funding your 401k plan up to the max, right after you've done your IRA plan. And so the next phase that we enter into, if we have anything accumulated, is the asset preservation phase. We cover how to get the wealth, but once we get the wealth, how do we preserve it? And again, age 55 to 65, I say that it could start even a little sooner, maybe 45 for those of us that have really been, kicking into the high gear and saving and investing. And so in this phase, we're more concentrated on preserving wealth, protecting it against losses. And there's certain things that you have to do in this phase to protect it against loss. We'll talk about the distribution phase, and that's age groups of 65 years plus. And in that phase, we've accumulated this wealth. we've done a great job of preserving the wealth, and now it's time to spend down our wealth that we've accumulated, right? So we have to have an income distribution plan to spend it down with focus in knowing that, hey, we've got taxes to pay, we've got to cover these withdrawals, we've got to cover inflation, right? We got to outpace inflation. So we still got to, basically what I'm saying is we still got to earn in retirement. And most people don't know that, hey, they do a good job of building this wealth, but they don't know how to make their money last for a lifetime. In the preservation phase, the goal is to reduce market volatility that can lead to loss of what we've accumulated, what we've worked so hard to gain, to gather, right? And so many times in this phase, people tend to shy away from the stock market, right? They're like, okay, now it's time to put my money into something more safe. And when I say more safe, either they put it into cash or they move their money into the bond market, right? They pull it out of stocks and then they change their portfolio mix to more bonds than they do stocks. And so eventually you'll get to a split of a 60-40 split, where you have a heavy hand in the bond market of 60. What some may not know is that there's a financial vehicle that allows individuals to stay vested in the market for participation in future growth while providing insurance or a shield against market turndowns. This product goes by many names, depending on the insurance provider, but typically you'll hear the advisors refer to it as a buffer, a shield, or a structured annuity. Okay, and so this tool allows you to kind of shift between 10 to 30% of market loss onto the insurance company. And so, but you can participate in future growth potential by tracking one of the major indexes, right? So you get to choose that. So basically, you can choose between the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, or the Russell 2000. And the Russell 2000 is a index that tracks 2,000 of the medium to small companies, U.S. domestic companies. And so companies like Sprout Farmers Market, it's a rival to Whole Foods, right? And then they have a index that you can invest in, a foreign index that you can invest in and put your money into. So I don't really tout that one because, I mean, there's enough growth in U.S. domestic stocks not to worry about country risk that is associated with some of these developing nations, right? So I kind of want to explain how a buffer works. So let's say that we have 100,000 to invest and you choose a buffer. Again, I said that you can buffer it from 20 to 30%, but in this particular scenario, you have a 25% buffer. And over the course of 3 to 6 years, because there's a lock-in period, depending on, and you get to choose that lock-in period, the market performs like poorly. And the overall market was down, let's say 20%. In this case, the insurance company would eat the entire market loss because you have a 25% buffer. So let's take the same scenario, but in this case, instead of a 20% market downturn, we have a 30% market downturn. The insurance company would eat the 25% of the loss and only charge the account that you have with them a loss of 5%. So the total loss in the account would be $5,000. And your new balance in your account would be $95,000. The insurance absorbed 25% of that market loss. Now, say for instance, you had it in your 401k plan or your 403b plan, or you had it in a simple IRA, you just took a $30,000 paper loss, right? And so in this phase, and it takes time again for you to earn that back, right? It's not just an instant. When the markets go back up, I instantly get my $30,000 back. It takes time to get that back. Well, if you're already sitting at 55 plus, you don't have that time to take, right? For your account to grow back. And so with that, there's also an upside cap. So with this vehicle, you can shield yourself from market loss, but on the flip side, it caps your potential growth. So you don't get the full growth of the market, right? So you're giving up some of that growth potential for downside protection. All right, so I'm gonna kind of give you like an example of this. So let's say that the cap rate on your account is 15%, and the market over a 1 year lock term went up 15%. Using the same 100,000, the insurance company would credit your account the entire 15%. So the balance at the end of the term of that 1 year would be 115,000. And so if you take that same scenario and then you only change what you could potentially gain to 20%, the insurance company would credit your account the 115%, and then it would pocket the difference between the market rate and the contract cap, which in this case would be the $5,000. So the insurance keeps what's above that cap. So basically, they take that cap and then they have to invest, right, in order to be able to pull this off. And we can go into that too.
It sounds interesting, but it's kind of like, because I have family members in that 55 to 65 phase where they've been investing their whole lives and but then I've had other family members where they said, look, I'd rather just sit mine in the bank, put my 100,000 in the bank. I don't care what the market does because it's really just legalized gambling. A lot of my family members lost money in 2000, lost money when the market crashed. What was that? Oh 07, oh 08. So they
Yep.
really and they were in that 55 to 65 phase then when everything crashed. So, like when I speak to my family members, they're always like, the stocks is cool unless you have a financial advisor doing yours, which I do, but they're kind of like, you just got to be careful with that. That's just still legalized gambling. So in 2025, is the stock market and is Bitcoin, because people call Bitcoin fake money, is that legalized gambling or is this something that we're really going to be able to retire with? Because I live in Florida, man. I go to people's houses, they're retired. They have kids, grandkids, great grandkids done move back in. They got to get a new roof. We just had hurricane season. Their insurance rates went up, you know, and they're sitting here like, I may have to go back to work or move out of the state because I can't afford it. I'm retired, but this inflation is killing me.
So if you keep your money in a regular savings account, it's already being eaten by inflation itself. So you're already at a losing point there, right? And then if you have your money, it's never going to, you have to buy assets. And assets is what propels you to be able to take care of things. So I wouldn't advise anyone to just have their money in regular savings, right? Because inflation is going to eat it away or eat up at it. So that's first and foremost. No, the stock market isn't legalized gambling. It just isn't, right? It's the investment in the future of America. And if you believe that America is going to continue to do business, you should own a piece of these companies, right? And so what they're actually doing with the money that you're lending, because you can get so big in business that you have to find other additional ways to raise capital, right? And so one of the ways that they raise capital is through issuing stock, right? You get to participate in the growth of these companies, as well as if they issue a dividend in the income of these companies. They give you a piece of their profit from just holding their company shares. That's what's actually happening. And then with the cryptocurrencies, I mean, it's being legitimized, right? I mean, Trump is definitely acknowledging he's got a couple of cryptos that he just announced, after his inauguration, him and his wife. So that is the wave. Digital currency is the wave, right? So it's just an alternative to cash. So that's kind of what I believe.
Okay, no, I got you. No, because I speak to some brothers and they say, man, I just don't believe in that crypto, that's not real money. Everybody's coming out with a coin, that's not legit. And I've bought some Bitcoin, but I'm just saying from a professional perspective, from a financial advisor, when someone says, there's hell, I can have a Black Men Sundays coin come out next week. Is it legit though? And how do you know that that's a coin that I can invest in? That way, when I want to pull the money out down the road, I don't have to go back to work because I'm retired now. Like, can we have that much faith in those coins or no?
I think you can. Like Ethereum and Bitcoin, I do believe that they're legit. Now, some of these alternative coins, these meme coins, you have to be very, very careful, right? And the value placed on those. So the heavy hitters like Bit and Ethereum have stood the test of time, right? There's a value in those. I mean, there's a lot of money that's being imploded in those, and so I believe that those are the ones that you should be investing in if you were going to invest in the crypto space. So you have to be careful with like meme coins. So if you came up with a Black Man Sundays coin, where's the underlying value, right? That would be considered a meme coin. And well, the value comes from what the people believe in, right? And so you just have to be careful with the meme coins.
I saw Kayla unmuted, so I think he got a question.
Yeah, I do
Sure.
have a question. Well, I got more of a statement on that. Like, so one, I think, as individuals, we should not, for lack of a better term, we should not conflate or make Bitcoin investment equal to stock market investment. It's not the same thing.
It's
So,
not.
so stock market investment is investing in stocks of businesses that actually exist, that's regulated, that's insured by the FDIC. You can, if you invest, there may be a way for you to recoup some of the money that you lose up to a certain point, right? And Nelson, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is unregulated. All cryptocurrencies are unregulated. If you're investing in cryptocurrency, you're just investing your money in something that you believe will have, a positive return, but it's unregulated. That means, they don't have to guarantee anything. It's not yet on the market. I know there's some discussions about it being, about it coming under SEC regulations or whatever, but currently it's not. So if you're investing in that, you really have to be very careful about, well, what is the use case? What's the point of Bitcoin? Does anybody use it actually as a currency? Or is it just a stock that people are like, or a commodity that people are like just asking you to invest in? And the same with Ethereum, and the same with all of the host of the rest of these other meme coins. As you know, I've said several times on this show, I'm not a huge believer in cryptocurrency. I'm still not a huge believer in cryptocurrency. I see like one good use case for it, and a lot of people aren't even talking about that particular use case. So, but I just want the real point here is I just want to have people not think that investing in cryptocurrency is investing. That investing in the stock market is different from investing in cryptocurrency. And Nelson, you can correct or clarify for me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's highly over in the crypto space is highly speculative and unregulated. He is absolutely correct, right? There's not a lot of regulation over there. And anytime there isn't any regulation, you have what actually happened in the stock market before it became regulated, and all the rules and regulations were put into place back in the what led to the Great Depression, right? Was the smart market, right? And so Franklin D. Roosevelt put into place the Securities Exchange Commission that overlooks all the investments and things of that nature, as well as the Investment Company Act of 1940. All those regulations control the stock market, right? So that legitimizes it, and it makes it safe for investors to invest, knowing that there's a vetting process that takes place because of these regulations. So you are absolutely correct. Yeah, well said. Better than what I could say, but that was well said. And then in the crypto space, there are no such regulations, and so that's what makes it maybe scary for investors is because there is no regulation. And without regulation, there's a chance of fraud. There's a chance of loss, substantial loss. So you run the risk of that. Now, have there been people who have gotten rich off of crypto, and the major players, and then those meme coins and altcoins, alternative coins to the major two? Absolutely. But just know there is no regulation over them.
Thanks, Nelson. I just wanted to have that conversation and clarify that, and I appreciate you adding your expertise to that. Thank you.
But let's get back to the buffers, man, because it's like I said, man, I go to people's houses, they're retired, they say, do this, do that, I did it. And now I may have to go back to work because the inflation when they were setting their plans up in 2000 or in the 80s or 70s, they weren't thinking about inflation like this. They weren't, you know what I mean? So now you see people at home where like they're literally saying we may have to move out of Florida. Our house is too expensive now. So, but let's get back to this wealth. Yeah, so that's why I'm really, really heavy on this because it's a lot of, business owners, a lot of brothers and sisters that are, between 55 and 65 plus that listen that said, okay, we done did all that, but now we kind of feeling stuck. So, it's 2025. Let's get back to that, to the buffers. Like what are the pros and cons? I mean, I already know like you already mentioned what some pros were, but what are some cons of that buffered, of having that buffered protection plan?
So you're not able to put all of your liquid assets in it, and it's kind of to protect you, right? You may run into a liquidity need that you need capital. That things happen, right? One minute you're doing quite well, and then the next minute you just need access to money. You got it, but you just can't access it. So you're only allowed to put 65% of your liquid assets into the investment product. And so, say for instance, I mean, simple math, you have $100,000 in assets that you have. You can only expose, in this case, 65,000 and put it into the actual buffered annuity if you had $100,000 to invest. Another con is your money's locked up. Usually you have a lock period of 3 to 6 years. And then if you try to take out your money, there are surrender charges. And then it takes a year or so, or 1 year, let's just say 1 year, for you to be able to make a withdrawal. So say, for instance, you do run up across an emergency. It's not like a total lock, but you can only tap your money once per year, and it's 10% of the value of that account. So if you had that $100,000, you can only take 10% out, which would be $10,000 for the 6 years. It's really 5 years that you have the contract in place. And then you only get to participate in the price index, which is the appreciation of the market. The insurance company, and I won't be taking, keeps the dividend and interest. So you only get to participate in the index pricing, which is nothing more than the appreciation of the index.
That's a question I wanted to ask you about was if I decide to get an IUL instead of 401k, isn't that money guaranteed? Versus
a portion of that money is guaranteed because you're in an insurance product. Yes, you're going to get some guarantees. Versus in a 401k, there are no guarantees.
Right. So wouldn't the IUL be a better product, in your opinion, for long term?
It just depends. Like I don't believe in insurance products. Say if you're trying to, at least I believe, trying to accumulate wealth. I don't think that the insurance product is correct for accumulation of wealth. I do believe it is a vehicle that it should be used in the preservation of wealth. And there's other uses. So if you're just trying to accumulate wealth, your return is greater in a potentially greater in a 401k, but no, or a IRA, right? Those are vehicles for growing wealth. So you are right. They do have protection. but a UIL is a very expensive product, and I think that you would see a better return. You may experience losses, but I think at the end of the day, in a 401k, you would definitely come out better. That's just my opinion. So to recap, insurance products are best used in the asset preservation phase, not in accumulating assets. It's not built for that. The pros, which is there's zero fees that are associated with it. You know, with some investments, there's a fees associated with the product, right? And so all of that is factored into the insurance product itself, right? Because they're doing some fancy stuff to be able to pay you these guarantees and insure your money, right? So those premiums that are going in, because that's an insurance term. So once that investment goes in, it becomes like a premium to them. And so they're in the market, playing in the market, right? So they've got all kinds of reserves that they have to legally keep to be able to pay out, but to pay out and to shield the money, they've got to be making money. And so all of those things, usually with a financial product, you pay fees, but with this one, it doesn't, because it's already factored in to the shield and the caps and things of that nature. The investment manager and the actuaries got that on lock. And the actuaries are the probability of loss or the market doing bad over 6 years and stuff like that. They're feeding them that info. We don't need another 2008 happening, because there's some horror stories of people that lost their shirt. If we can shield it, I still believe firmly in the markets and what they do, but we may be headed towards some turbulent times. I don't think that this 4 years under Trump is going to be as glorious for the stock market because of what he's trying to do. So if you're not in the accumulation phase, you're going to need some protection. You don't have enough time to recoup losses, right?
It's a black man Sunday. Time to